Welcome back. We're following the constantly moving developments today on Capitol Hill as our nation is careening toward a government shutdown tomorrow night. Basically, it's a quarterly event these days. Leaders on both sides of the aisle have been talking all day trying to figure out how to avoid this. So joining me now is one of them. He's the #2 Democrat in the House, Minority Whip Steny Hoyer of Maryland. He's in all sorts of gangs on various things. So, and I know you're involved in a lot of these back-channel negotiations. Let me start with the basics here. Are you going to help Republicans pass their continuing resolution? Are you going to help whip votes for them on this or not?
No, we're not, Chuck.
Okay.
We've been kicking the can down the road too often. In September, all 183 Democrats that voted to extend for 90 days the government funding so that we could negotiate and reach agreements. That time was wasted. We didn't get there. I agree with, frankly, Mark Meadows, who said it's all this does is kick the can down the road one more time. So the Republicans are in charge. They have the majority. They have enough votes. If they want to simply not agree, have agreements with us, they can move on their own, and that's what they've chosen to do.
Is there any scenario where you'll help Republicans do this, the 5-day shutdown scenario, if they needed votes?
Look, we're in the place where we have been asking for 120 days to get agreement on the caps, so we know how much money we're going to spend in 2018. We're a third of the way into 2018. We still don't know what the expenditure level is going to be. We want to see the CHIP bill pass with other health extenders as well, including the community health centers. They're a whole, and they need to be considered as a whole. We want to see disaster relief pass. That's not in there. So is there a way? Yes, there is a way to sit down and reach agreements, compromise. But Paul Ryan has all this year decided to go his own way in a partisan way, and fine, nothing we can do about that. But if you're going to do that, you got to do it with your votes.
What are you going to tell your constituents, though, many of whom are federal government workers? You have a district not far from the nation's capital. A lot of federal government workers.
Federal workers. Yes.
Yeah. So 30 days. What's wrong with waiting another 30 days? I could argue politically, Congressman, that actually Democrats have more leverage in 30 days. The debt ceiling, DACA's expiration is suddenly a lot closer, and the burden suddenly, and we know Republicans can't raise the debt ceiling on their own.
I'm not going to vote against raising the debt ceiling. Raising the debt ceiling has extraordinary, or not raising it has extraordinary consequences. The Republicans have irresponsibly voted against that on a regular basis. I have no intention of voting against that. But I want to responsibly move forward. Frankly, you say, well, you could be better able to get agreement. We've been asking for agreements, and the agreement we've asked for is the one that Ryan entered into for the last 4 years, and that is equal increases in spending for domestic and and defense spending. That's what he put forward. That's what he agreed to with Senator Murray. That's all we're asking for. If he does that, maybe we can move forward. If he gives us some ability to make sure the Dreamers are safe, maybe we can move forward. If he does something on the health care side with CHIP and the community health centers and other health extenders, maybe we can move forward. But there has been no movement on those for 120 days. What makes us think that another 16, 20 days is going to make a difference? Frankly, we haven't seen the light at the end of the tunnel.
It's my understanding you were in the meeting with the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and Chief of Staff John Kelly.
I was.
Give me your version of events. There seems to be the president says that John Kelly's words aren't what it was reported. What can you tell us about what happened in that meeting?
Well, I think the president was wrong in terms of John Kelly's words. I think they were reported accurately. The president is inclined to deny words that he says, much less what anybody else said, minutes after they're said. So that I think that's simply not credible. I think General Kelly came into the meeting. I thought it was a positive step for him to take, to ask to meet with the Hispanic caucus, go through border security, and hear from the Hispanic caucus how important it was to do what 86% of America thinks we ought to do, and that is make sure the Dreamers stay in the only country that they really know, America. So that I think that was positive.
Right. There's another specific that I had in there. According to the Washington Examiner, apparently Kelly also told you guys in that meeting that he's willing to sign a deal that doesn't include the family migration issue, that basically punts the quote the so-called chain migration debate to later. Did you hear that?
I don't know that I don't want to say that because I don't remember him saying that specifically. I don't think that's accurate. It was made clear to him, however, that family reunification was an important American principle and that it was not to be negotiated away.
And what was his reaction to that? Was that something he was...
He didn't have much of a reaction other than to say, look, we think that's an issue that needs to be discussed.
All right, you're in this group of number twos. Yes. Kevin McCarthy, Dick Durbin, John Cornyn.
Correct.
Let me ask you this. Why not, if the president wants funding for 700 miles more of fence in exchange for DACA, how is that not like a doable deal? Just straight up there?
Look, we don't think the wall works. We don't think it's a good economic investment. And as a matter of fact, General Kelly did, in fact, make comments on that, where he said it may not be the wall that makes us secure. It may be some other things. But he clearly made it clear that the president was not talking about 2,000 miles of wall. He was talking maybe 700 miles of wall. The response to that, of course, is let's get a study from the Department of Homeland Security and experts as to what is in fact needed. I think we certainly can agree to that. That would be, I think, a positive way forward. So that the wall in and of itself,
it's probably not enough for the president.
We don't think a good. Well, it may not be, but then maybe it's too much for us. And as you pointed out, the legislative process is compromised. So we may have to take something, and he may have to take something. Now, the one thing, Chuck, I want to make a point is, I was also at the White House meeting with the president. In my view, 24 members of the Congress, well, actually 25 members of Congress said, we want to take care of the DACA protected individuals. 25. There was nobody said no to that. So that's not a question of a deal. That's a question that the president agreed to that, and everybody in the room agreed to it. Let's agree to it. Let's put it in paper, pass it, and make it happen.
Well, I think Lindsey Graham is looking for Tuesday Trump, just like you are. Anyway, Congressman Steny Hoyer.
Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you, sir. I know you're going to go back to more meetings. Let us know what happens. Up ahead.
All right.
What happens when two billionaires play a game of musical chairs at the governor's mansion?
I'm a fighter.